What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm waiverwirequeen, and today we have a very special guest. We have Abutta in the building. What's going on?
Ain't nothing what's going on, y'all.
Abutta is going to get you right for your upcoming super flex or your dynasty draft, so you can be ahead of your competition by giving you the top 5 wide receivers and the top 5 rookie tight ends. Let's get it.
Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast with Waiver Wire Queen.
Yes, y'all. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can stay connected with the team, so you can be ready for the upcoming fantasy football season, because you got to stay ahead of your competition in order to compete at the highest level. And also make sure those notifications are turned on. Abutta is going to be dropping some gems at the wide receiver position and at the tight end position. This is a great time in football. We are a day away from the NFL draft, and I know a lot of you will be drafting this weekend, so we are making sure we bring you all of the rookie rankings you need. Make sure you check out the videos released on Wednesday for the quarterbacks and running backs. But right now, Bud is about to bless you with his top 5 wide receivers. This is his favorite position, in my opinion, and he's about to break it down on why these 5 guys are the top 5 wide receivers going into your rookie draft.
All right, let's get it. So, of course, at number 1, I got my guy from USC, Drake London. And as far as I'm concerned, Drake London was the best wide receiver in college football this past season. Unfortunately, it was cut short due to injury, but he still put up some pretty amazing numbers. And I watched a lot of USC, of course, as I mentioned in the quarterback video, because I'm a big fan of Keaton Slovis. So definitely like Drake London.
And this is a slight surprise because a lot of people still have Treylon Burks as their top guy. So he's on your list. But what separates Drake London from the rest of these other wide receivers?
I think the thing that separates Drake London from the wide receivers is basically who they're comparing them to. They're comparing them to Mike Evans. And as far as being consistent, there's no receiver that's been more consistent than Mike Evans. We're talking 7 straight years of 1,000 yards. And I think that's what the appeal of Drake London is to NFL GMs. They see that same type of player who could go get those 50-50 balls, somebody who can give you a consistent 1,000 every season. So I think that's what separates him, is he fits a mold of consistency at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and a comparison like Mike Evans to me is great because, again, Mike Evans has been consistent. You don't hear a lot about him, but he's consistent, and it doesn't matter who his quarterback is. I mean, he has played very well with Winston and obviously now with Brady. And again, to do 1,000 yards, how many consecutive years? Was it 7 or 8?
Seven or 8.
That's not easy to do in the NFL, and it's crazy because it was quiet. Really didn't hear much about it until this past season, but I'm okay with having a Mike Evans on my fantasy team because you already know it's going to be for several years and you need stability at the wide receiver position. Best landing spot for Drake London.
The New York Jets. They already have Eli Moore over there. Now, on the other side, I think he'd be the perfect complement to Moore. And it's just in terms of needing more weapons. I think if you're going to go, well, of course, not if, with Zach Wilson being the man in New York, you definitely want to get him as many weapons as possible. And I think Drake London is a big target, and it just fits, in my opinion.
Okay. That would be a good destination. If they don't go all in on Debo, then to me, that's good. I think they should just go in on one of these young rookie wide receivers instead of giving up a lot of assets for a wide receiver like Debo, because not only are you going to be giving up a lot of assets, you are going to have to come out of your pocket because he is wanting a nice contract. He's wanting a big contract. So I think this will be a great pick. Number 2.
Chris Olave out of Ohio State University. I have Chris Olave as my number 2. And of course, I've been in many debates and many discussions about who's better between Olave and Garrett Wilson, also from Ohio State. I just feel like when you turn on the tape on Chris Olave, he immediately takes off. He jumps off the screen. He's super, super explosive. Not a bad route runner at all. He can get behind the defense. And I just think he fits the current mold of the type of wide receiver, the explosive, get behind the defense wide receiver. Not saying that he's going to be Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. He just fits that mold of explosive wide receivers. And his 40 time shows that not only does he play fast, he really is fast.
Yeah, that's the kind of wide receiver I like and want on my team. I'm in my, I'm going through my rebuild and I'm looking for I don't know what I want to do. It all depends on what the gentleman does with the first pick will pretty much determine what I do. But if I'm in a position to go running back, wide receiver, I'm definitely looking at London. So, good information. Best landing spot.
New Orleans. I have New Orleans taking him at number 16. I think he would definitely be a good fit next to Michael Thomas, if not to be the heir apparent to Michael Thomas. I think he'd be a great fit down in New Orleans.
Okay. That's not a bad destination. I do feel like they need to add another wide receiver, whether that is to complement Thomas or to replace Thomas. They need more offensive weapons out there. And coming in at number 3, you have Burks.
Treylon Burks. Yes. I have Treylon Burks at number 3, of course. I know a lot of people are afraid of his 40 time and they feel like it was a bit disappointing, but I don't really put a whole lot of stock in the 40 times. If you watch Treylon Burks, he does everything. My comparison or who I feel he most reminds me of course, a lot of people say Deebo Samuel, but I'm going to go more Chris Godwin, but a little bit faster. To me, he looks faster doing the same things that Chris Godwin did. And they used him in the exact same role. So that's who I see.
Hey, if I can get a Chris Godwin on my team, I'm happy with that, because you already know he's going to be consistent, booty chain. It's going to be a good young wide receiver. It depends on where he's going to go. So I'm hoping that he lands in a favorable situation. Number 4, Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, the best route runner in this class. And in my opinion, it ain't even close. He is an elite route runner. He has decent speed. He's just not as explosive as the guys ahead of him. But I think as far as being a consistent wide receiver, I like chain movers. He's a wide receiver who can move the chain. He gets you plus yardage and keeps the first downs rolling. That's the thing that I like most about Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle had a quiet 1,000 yards, but the thing that you noticed most was that he kept the chains moving. He kept consistent chunks of yardage. He wasn't breaking it going for 30 or 40, but he was getting you consistent 9s. You get those 9s, that means you're working with short on first down. If you get 9 yards on first down, I mean you're working with a yard for second and third and possibly a 4th. So that's what I see with Garrett Wilson, somebody who can keep your offense on the field, especially with his route running.
Good stuff. Best destination for Wilson.
The Houston Texans. I believe the Houston Texans should take him in the first round. They need wide receiver help, especially if Davis Mills is going to be the guy. He needs some weapons, and I think Garrett Wilson would be the perfect complement to what they have over there with Brandon Cooks on one side, and you let Garrett Wilson do his thing, similar to Ohio State.
Yeah, because outside of Cooks, you have nothing at the wide receiver position.
Exactly.
And you also got to keep in mind that, he constantly misses time. So, he's unfortunately a
Well,
concussion away from his career being
these
back.
past 2 seasons have been his most healthy. So I don't think that I think going forward that might not be an issue. But of course, you can always be one hit away.
So I'm hoping for it because, yeah, for a moment there, it wasn't looking good. It was like his career may be over because he sustained so many concussions.
Right.
And coming in at number 5, probably one of your favorites,
Jameson
Williams.
Williams,
Yes.
indeed, from the Alabama University. He was the most explosive wide receiver in college football. I won't say he was the best. I felt like London was better, but Williams was pretty much right there. The only reason why I have him down so far, basically, if you're drafting him, you're knowing that you're coming in dealing with somebody who's going to be recovering from the ACL, so he's probably not going to be available to start the season. But he's a decent enough route runner, and he takes the top off the defenses. Like, he fits the mold. That's the thing about these wide receivers, like guys who can take the top off of defense, keep the defense honest, keep your quarterback from getting blitzed. He's one of those guys. He can help, and he has it's Alabama. There's one thing I don't bet against with Alabama is they wide receivers. They produce some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. At least they have recently. So I feel like Williams is gonna come in and fit that same mold.
Yeah, and he's a good route runner too. So that's good, because that'll help him during his recovery, because he may not have a great season, as he's still recovering from that ACL. Maybe the second year will probably be the year.
Right. Well, I mean, I think they said he was already jogging like a week or
Yeah.
two after the surgery. So
that's impressive.
Right. Very impressive.
Yeah, that's amazing. So destination?
The Washington Commanders. Yeah, they need more weapons. I feel like the Curtis Samuel situation was a complete, utter failure.
Yeah,
I like the other kid. I think his name was D Brown or something like that. The other kid from North Carolina, he was a deep threat. But I think Williams is a better deep threat, and he would take a lot of the pressure off of Terry McLaurin, because teams knew that you didn't have Samuel, you didn't have Logan Thomas, so teams could pretty much do whatever they wanted to Terry McLaurin. And then the running back, the other guy,
McKissick,
I don't know, I guess he fell out of favor or whatever, but even with him, using him as like a running back / wide receiver, they kind of got away from that. And I think McLaurin suffered a lot because of that. So getting a guy with the caliber of Williams' talent would make things easier for him.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him, decide to re-sign with them instead of going with the Bills, considering wasn't really in the rotation and play much. But yeah, they definitely need some wide receiver help. So this would definitely be a good move for the Commanders. Weird name. I'm still trying to get used to that name because it's strange as hell. But let me post your top 5 wide receivers again so they can see. Anything else you want to mention about these 5 guys?
No, I think I definitely like this receiver class. I think these 5 guys are as good as it gets. There are a couple of sleepers that I think would fall right in tow with these guys, but I think this is a good wide receiver class.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that. Right about that. So let's have some Q&A on these wide receivers. Give me one late round wide receiver sleeper going into the upcoming draft.
I have 2. First, we're going to go with George Pickens from Georgia. He could have easily been in the mix with the top 5 with the rest of these guys. He spent all last year coming back from an ACL injury easily. Even the year before that, he was one of those guys that could have been at the top. So I believe as long as he continues to get healthy, you've seen him in the game against Alabama. He got deep, and is what he does. He can take the top off of a defense. He's scrappy. He is no nonsense as a wide receiver, and he will block. He will get out there and he will block. That's rare in wide receivers. You know, a lot of these guys are divas; they don't want to get hurt, but Pickens will
Yeah.
get out there and he will throw a block. So, a lot of good things to like about him. Decent route runner, but definitely explosive, and he will take the top off of the defense. That's my first sleeper, and my second sleeper would be Alec Pierce. Love his game.
He's tall and fast.
Tall, and
Yeah.
Alec Pierce is fast. He's got the speed to match his height, and he gets a lot of he drew a lot of comparisons to Cooper Kupp, who definitely had one of the better one of the better seasons in the NFL at wide receiver. So I think that's a good comparison. The only thing that people question is his toughness.
Mhm.
Alabama was able to get physical with him, and he pretty much disappeared in that game. And it's hard because he was literally the only weapon that they had, that Desmond Ridder had for that game. I don't think it's an indictment on him. I think it was more of an indictment on how deep that team was or how good that team really was. But he did kind of fold under the pressure, and when they got physical with him, and at the NFL, it only gets even more physical.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's gonna have to toughen up. So if I am approaching my rookie draft and I'm considering drafting Pickens, where do you think I should target Pickens in the draft?
late first, he'll go. Like, I think I've seen, even in any mock that I've done as far as that goes, Pickens is, like I said, because he's right there. Talent wise, Pickens is right there. That's why they have him rated as high as they do. So if you can get him at the end of the first round, maybe even the early second round, and by early I mean the first pick in the second round, because I don't think he falls that far.
Yeah, I'm doing my mocks and he has been right there at 11 or the first, and I'm having the difficulties of deciding at 11 because in this league I do need a quarterback. So Ritter has been there, then Pickens is there, and I'm like, because this one league is four wide receivers you have to start. That's a lot. So you can't have enough wide receivers in this league, but you also have to, you can start two quarterbacks. So it's been
Right.
kind of tough, and I'm trying to decide right there at that in the first round. It's going to be either or from me. And what about Pierce?
Alec Pierce. I think if you can get Alec Pierce in the maybe mid to late third round, maybe fourth. I don't know. I've seen him available in the fourth round. I guess it would just depend on what you need at that point and how confident you are in him. If you believe that if in the middle of the third round, if you don't see anybody that you feel is better, then I'd say target him in the middle of the third round. But if not, if you can get him in the early fourth, that's fine as well.
Okay. Most overrated, overvalued wide receiver.
Most overrated, overvalued. I don't think any of them are overrated. I think these guys are actually all really that good. Oh, Christian Watson. I keep forgetting about that kid. I think he's definitely overrated. Literally came from nowhere, but he's big and he's tall and he's fast. So that's always, that always, people always get enamored with that size and speed. It makes you think about Megatron. It makes you think about Randy Moss. People fall in love with physical specimens, and he's definitely considered a physical specimen, but I don't think he's going to be all that.
Man, if he ends up going to the Chiefs or to the Packers, someone's going to reach. I'm telling you, if he goes to one of those teams, someone's going to reach for him high in the first round. And I'm all for it. I'm applauding them. Go on and do it, because that means there's somebody else who's going to be better than him available for me. So
right,
go on and do it. I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm not going to be reaching just because you've been drafted by Green Bay or even the Chiefs, because I want to see what Mahomes is going to look like now that Hill is no longer there.
right.
Also, you got to realize that if you reach for Watson, say he goes to the Packers, how much time does Aaron Rodgers really have left?
Right.
You don't know. With him, you just don't know. So yeah, I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it at all. Okay, so did anyone hurt their stock at the combine? I know you mentioned Burks earlier.
I think that was it. I think
that
that's
was
only
it.
when there any negative that got any negative talk from the combine was Treylon Burks with his slow 40.
Biggest bust potential.
I would say Drake London, just because of who people compare him to and what the expectations is. When you throw the expectations of Mike Evans onto somebody, there, is that's either boom or bust. Either you're gonna be as good as Mike Evans or you ain't gonna be as good as Mike Evans. So,
And again, if he can be anything like what Mike Evans is, I'm all for it because that's consistency and he's going to produce. Just going to be quiet about it. No one's going to be talking about it. But when you playing your opponent and you see, London or Mike Evans, you're like,
right.
You gotta prepare for it. It's coming. So yeah. Anything else you want to mention and let them know prior to going to the draft about the wide receivers?
It's a deep class. You don't have to rush yourself into picking a wide receiver. I mean, if you're needy, then it's a good opportunity to land a couple of wide receivers because it's a deep draft.
Okay. Do you think there's anyone late, maybe fourth round that'd be good outside of Pierce?
I would say probably Sky Moore or John Mechie. I'm not really too much a fan of Mechie, but I'm definitely a fan of Alabama wide receivers. So he'd definitely be worth taking the flyer on.
Yeah, especially in the fourth round. That's not a bad spot for him at all. What about David Bell?
Oh yeah, I forgot about David Bell, young guy. And I think he would definitely. I don't think he'll be available in the fourth. I mean, as far as David Bell goes, you'll be looking at him in the mid to late second, maybe. I don't think he lasts to the third round. I think if you're gonna get David Bell, then you're gonna take him in the second.
Yeah, I think like for the league that I'm in with starting the 4 wide receivers, I already have some wide receivers, but I can add some more wide receivers in that maybe third round who I feel will be able to help, whether that is, rounding out my bench, because people do have to realize it's not just the first 2 rounds. You have other rounds you have to prepare for. So that's why this is some good information that you're giving them about players they can target,
Right.
later on in the draft, because nothing like getting into those late rounds. That's even in the regular draft. You in the late rounds and it's getting tough because now all of the known talent is pretty much going. So you definitely have to prepare. Good information. So we're about to get into our tight end rankings. Abutta is about to drop some gems and give you all the information you need prior to going into your draft at the tight end position. It's a good group too. So before we even talk about the top 5, what do you think about this tight end class?
It's not very good at all. It's top heavy. It ain't gonna be any. I don't believe there are any sleepers at the tight end position. You kind of gonna get what you get. The top guys are the top guys. It's not a deep class at all.
No, definitely no Kyle Pitts. Do you think there's any Pat Freeman, maybe Tommy Trumbull type talent in this group with that type of potential?
Potential, yes. Well, even like Kyle Pitts is a generational talent, but I believe it's still like talent at the tight end position. It's just not that. We don't have like a freak, like we don't have a physical specimen freak like Pitts.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into your top 5. You got Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely. I have him as my number 1 tight end. And when you watch Isaiah Likely, he played like a wide receiver. He's big. He's got some speed on him. And at Coastal Carolina, they lined him up everywhere. They lined him up outside. They lined him up in the slot. They had him coming off the line. He's that physically imposing. I won't call him Kyle Pitts, but he fits the hybrid tight end wide receiver mode, which is the same thing as a Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is basically a hybrid tight end wide receiver because you can line them up anywhere. And you can do the same thing with Isaiah Likely. You can line them up anywhere.
Good information. So if I'm in a 2 tight end league, where should I be targeting Isaiah Likely?
I had him going in the first round, but if you can get him at the late second, I'd say like tight end wise, my first two are probably guys that you could get in the third, maybe the fourth. I don't know. It depends on in the 2 tight end league. You can never tell. People might reach for tight ends, but I think as far as likely goes, you should be able to secure him in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to reach in the 1st round because, like with Pitts, yeah, he was he was going sometimes in some of the drafts in the top 5. I don't see this happening. Or to me, I don't think it should happen. So, yeah, best landing spot for likely.
I'm not sure. It doesn't even. I don't even think it matters. Like, you can never have too many tight ends on the team. If I had to take a stab at it, I would say the Indianapolis Colts. They definitely could use tight end help with Jack Doyle retiring.
Yeah. So, are you high on any of the current tight ends on that roster? They got Mo Alley Cox
No. Mo Alley Cox is trash. They just paid him just to keep him there.
and then Granson.
Granson is interesting. A lot of people think that there's some talent there. I'm not entirely certain. He's shown like little flashes. You have to give him an opportunity, but I definitely think Isaiah Likely would be an instant upgrade.
Okay. Yeah, and they definitely need, because I'm not sold on Mo Alley Cox at all. They keep trying to force it. To me, it's just not there. And let it go. Let it go. Anything else about Isaiah?
Nah, that's it.
Okay. And some a lot of the rankings, they got McBride, at number 1, and then likely I'm seeing him 3rd, but yeah, it's a good place for him. And coming in at number 2, this is a guy that in some rankings was the top guy. I've been hearing that it's gonna be a bust, but don't know. So you got Jalen Wydermyer.
Yeah, I have him as my number 2. I definitely feel like from a talent aspect, or just talent / like intangibles, I think Isaiah Likely and Wydermyer are probably the most physically gifted tight ends in this draft class, especially Wydermyer. He can go up and he can make some acrobatic catches. Definitely a lot of athleticism there. I just think I don't think he took over the way that he could have last year in college, like like people were expecting. I think people were expecting him to dominate the position, and I don't feel like he dominated the position, which is why we were able to have a Trey McBride come through, and people feel like, oh, well, Trey McBride is better, or Trey McBride is the best tight end in this class. I think ceiling wise, I believe Jalen Wydermyer has a higher ceiling.
Okay, perfect. Best landing spot.
But before the trade for Austin Hooper, I thought he would have been a good fit in Tennessee. I would say at this juncture, the best fit I could see would be, I would say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could use a replacement now that O.J. Howard is gone. I know they like Cameron Brate, but you definitely don't know the status on Rob Gronkowski and if he's going to come back. I think this gives you an opportunity to infuse more young talent into that team, into that group.
Okay. Good stuff. Coming in at number 3, McBride.
Trey McBride doesn't get any more consistent than Trey McBride. Makes a lot. He can get open down the field. He's big, nice target, sure hands, gets first downs. I think the only thing that kind of concerned me, I guess it's not really necessarily a concern, but kind of reminds me of the tight end from the Dallas Cowboys. What's that guy's name? I don't even I hate the Cowboys, so can't even.
Oh, their current tight end or the tight end that went with the hip issues?
Yeah, what was his name?
What's his name? I'm visualizing him too.
Doesn't even matter. But tends to go out of bounds more than fight for yardage. And I thought that was quite concerning. I watched a lot of film on him, and he tends to go towards the out of bounds line more than he will fight for yardage. And that reminds me a lot of a certain former Dallas Cowboy tight end.
Yeah, I can't even remember his name because it's just been a disappointment. I'm trying to erase him.
Right.
I'm trying to get him out of my mind because it was terrible. Blake Jarwin. Yeah.
No, not Blake Jarwin. I'm talking about the guy who played tight end for years. I'm not talking. I'm talking about.
I'm thinking you was talking about this past year.
No, I'm not talking about this past year. I'm talking about before Schultz and Jarwin and all those guys.
Witten.
Jason Witten. That's what he reminds me. He does a lot of Jason Witten type things. Jason Witten was not about that action. He would run to the sidelines and get down and get out. And I see a lot of that in Trey McBride. So I don't want my tight ends to punk out, man.
Oh, you want your tight ends to go head first to the contact or something. You want them to get into that contact. Woo. Dang. Okay. Good stuff. Coming in at number 4, one of your faves.
Greg Dulcich, UCLA, fights for yardage. When you watch Greg Dulcich, he fights for yardage. Not only does he get open, he can extend the drive because he fights for yardage.
Okay,
very raw. He's a very raw prospect.
Best landing spot.
I would say the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he would benefit from going to that young offense. You can add him, and I think he would fit well with what they had last year going as far as tight end goes. I like Hayden Hurst. Don't get me wrong. Hayden Hurst is a decent tight end, but I think they could afford to go younger.
Yeah, I was surprised that they went with him. I thought they was going to target Hooper, but I still think they definitely can add another tight end. Uzamu signed with the Jets in free agency. That's another
trash
destination that needs to get younger at the tight end position. I don't get this. He's just not that guy who's gonna, dominate the game. And then you don't want to invest a lot in a player who you simply don't know what to expect. Like with him last year, what was it? Every few games he had a big game. Then the next few games it was nothing. That's just inconsistent. And that's pretty much what I don't want to say that's what we're gonna get from Hurst for the most part, because Higgins, I'm hoping that he's going to be ready to start the season. He has shoulder surgery, so it doesn't matter. He's Hurst is still what, 4th, maybe even 5th if Mixon is involved. So yeah, I'm not too high on Hurst, but if they can get a nice young tight end to go along with Burrow and all of those weapons, would be great. Good information. And coming in at number 5, Ruckert.
Jeremy Ruckert, switchblade at tight end. He does everything. He can do it all. Definitely in my top 5, and I think he would be a good sleeper in the 4th round. You just one of those guys that does everything, especially you want a tight end that can run block, pass block, sure hands, reliable. He's just a switchblade. He does everything, and I think even though I don't believe he'll be like one of the elite tight ends, I think he can be a valuable tight end in fantasy and in football in general.
Okay, best landing spot.
For Jeremy Ruckert, I would say the best landing spot to me would be the New York Football Giants. They need consistency at the tight end position. Of course, they lost Evan Ingram, and it wasn't like it's not a big loss anyway, but he would offer some stability, especially in as far as blocking goes and just being sure-handed. You need someone that's going to be sure-handed, and you need someone who's not afraid to block. I definitely think Ruckert would be a good fit for the New York Giants.
Yeah, because I don't think the current tight ends are the answer.
No,
I don't think they're the answer, short term or long term. But they decided to sign them, and maybe they may be looking for a tight end in this draft. It was a big disappointment when Ingram was supposed to be able to catch, and all he did was drop balls. So
Ingram was supposed to just be physically. He was just physically talented. People liked him because coming out of college, he was a physically gifted tight end.
Can't catch.
Right.
Maybe things will be a little different for him down in Jacksonville. All right. Anything else you want to let everyone know about these 5 tight ends?
Of course, if Trey McBride will probably be available early. So if you do need a tight end and you like his situation, of course, he'd probably be somebody that's taking it early. The rest of these guys should be available in the mid third round to the fourth round. You should be able to secure any of them in the fourth round if you need to. Like I said, this position is not very deep. These guys are it, in my opinion.
Yeah, don't reach, because you'll be passing up probably some good running backs and some good wide receivers if you reach for one of these tight ends. So
correct.
Don't do it. All right, y'all. Let me let y'all look at his top 5 again. Abutta dropping gems for you guys so you can be prepared for your upcoming draft, because I know everyone is drafting this weekend. I am. All right, y'all. So we're about to get in a little Q&A so Abutta can drop some more gems for you guys ahead of your upcoming drafts. Let's talk about a few late round sleepers. Do you think there's anyone? Because I know you said this is not a deep class, but
it's not a deep class. There aren't
not even Woods.
There's no sleepers in the tight end position. If any of those guys get drafted, that's why it's like there are no late round sleepers in tight ends. If you don't get drafted, it normally just doesn't happen for you. So no, these guys, like even with these guys, the ones that get drafted are the ones to go after. The ones that don't get drafted, it's not even worth it.
Okay. I hear that. Yeah, you're probably right here. Even in the mocks I've done, once it gets deep and it's late, it's like, ooh, I don't want to waste that pick on them. So focus on focus on the running backs and the wide receivers. Or you may be able to just get a one of those quarterbacks late. Like you mentioned, who was it? Ellaby, and who else? Strong, because I think he'll be there. If he was to get drafted in like the second round, I would be shocked. So he may probably be there in the fourth. The most recent mocks I've done, he's been in the fourth round. So don't know if that's what's going to happen, especially in the 2 quarterback or super flex league, but should go that way.
Right.
Most overrated or overvalued tight end out of this group.
I was the only one who I felt was inappropriately rated was Okongu. I can't pronounce his first name. He had a good 40, and people started talking about him for a couple of days. But other than that, like I said, I don't really see any value. Therefore, I don't feel like anyone is overrated because I think they're all appropriately rated. Nobody's talking about this tight end group, so I don't think there's a need to feel that they're overrated.
For a reason, yeah. Let me try it. Chigonzine. I think I got it. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Did anyone hurt their stock? I don't really think so. Yeah, I don't. It just is what it is. I don't think anyone hurt their stock. I think more people may slightly be talking about Greg Dulcich a little bit. So maybe kind of helped his stock a bit, Biggest bust potential.
I would say biggest bust potential would be Isaiah Likely, because I think once people start watching him play, you'll start to see, well, you know what? Not really, because I don't really think there's any bust potential because none of these guys are going in the first round. To me, after the first and second round of an NFL draft, those guys, I don't really consider them busts because they're not high draft picks. High draft picks are busts.
Yeah.
Lower draft picks aren't really busts. I don't feel like these guys have bust potential because none of them are going to be in the first round. None of them. It will not be a tight end going in the first round of this draft.
And I think, to me, I just feel like it would be a big mistake for anyone in their dynasty draft to reach and draft one of these guys in the first round. I just don't think it's a good idea with all that talent on the board, because I believe you'll still be able to get him even if you want to take a chance in the second round. That's where I've been seeing McBride has been the first one off the board, and it's always been second round. So if you want to do that, that's on you. But again, there are some really good running backs and some really good wide receivers that you will be passing on who have a better chance at being successful, in my opinion.
Right.
So, yeah. Anything else you want to let them know about these tight ends, or how should they approach their draft?
I mean, you should always go best player available till you're at the point. It just depends on if the picks are luxury, they luxury picks, or they like picks of need. mean, if it's a luxury pick for you, you can pretty much do how you want to do. You can reach for whatever if you feel like you're set.
Yeah, that's how it is for me in one of my leagues. It's all luxury going on, but my rebuild, I have to be on point, especially in that first round. Those three picks in that first round, I have to make sure that I get players who are going to have a high impact for several years. I can't. That's why I'm flip flopping with the quarterback position. I'm now starting to feel like if I can get Willis at 2, I may do it. But if not, I'm just going to go in and most likely do the safe thing with a running back and then a wide receiver, because I feel like, again, with the one league having 4 wide receivers to start, you don't really see that in most leagues. That's a huge problem, because there are not that many great wide receivers that you can start 4, and you have like 12 teams. That's a lot of wide receivers to have to start.
Right.
So yeah, still on the fence about that. Anything else about any of these rookies you want them to know? And that's with all the rookies going into the 2022 draft.
Nah, that's it. That sums it up.
All right, but I want to thank Abutta for stopping by and blessing us with endless gems to help you prepare for your upcoming draft. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can stay ahead of your competition and be ready for the upcoming 2022 fantasy football season. Leave some comments and let us know your thoughts of Abutta's top 5 wide receivers and his top 5 tight ends. Y'all have a great evening. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast.